Hello and welcome. In today's video, in today's lesson, we see a very interesting positional concept from a game of none other than Magnus Carlsen. It is always very interesting to see games of Carlsen to learn stuff because he has such strategic clarity in his thought, and every one of his games is a lesson, whether it is played in a world championship match or a casual bullet game. So let us look at this particular position. Carlsen is playing white, and if we do a basic assessment of the position, we see the material is equal. Black has some space on the queen side with the 2 pawns advanced to b5 and c5. Black is a bit behind in development, and even white is yet to develop his all the pieces because knight can come somewhere and rooks can be centralized. So let us see how Carlsen thinks in the position. So I show this position to lot of my students, which are like less than 1,000 FIDE, and most of them are not able to find the continuation because it is slightly advanced in nature. And I'm sure once you see the solution which Carlsen did in this position, you will appreciate the positional aspect of chess a little bit more. So in this position, instead of regular development, which can be like very simply bring the knight to c3 and rook, let us say the rook f to d1. Okay, so a lot of things can be done, which is development, but this is not very targeted development. So today is not the day and age where you can simply develop and hope for a good game. You have to try for best possible opportunities for your pieces in any position. So with that in mind, Carlsen sees, okay, and if you see one particular thing in Carlsen's game, it is his amazing sense of space. In almost all his games, I see him gaining, space in the center, in the flanks, both the flanks, and fighting for space everywhere. So that is one of the key characteristics of games of Magnus Carlsen, that he has this enhanced understanding of space. That is one of my understanding and observations. And of course, he's good at everything else. So that goes without saying. So here Carlsen sees, okay, let us see. The long-term goal is to maybe advance the pawns because white has a majority in the center and the king side, while black has some play on the queen side. So to achieve that aim in the best possible circumstances, Carlsen starts a plan to break up the black queen side and find an excellent outpost for the knight, which becomes a critical factor in the game later on. Carlsen plays the move a4. And a4, the idea is white want to loosen up, remove the support of the pawn on b5, which can again be attacked and possibly encouraged to go further, which will leave one square, particularly in this case c4, for the knight to be established on as a brilliant outpost. So a4 was played, and black actually immediately played b4. So let us say what he had in mind if bishop e7 was played. And this is the time you have to stop and think, what is the idea? The idea Carlsen has in mind is to establish an outpost on the square c4 for the knight. He wants black to relinquish his control of all the squares on the queen side and give some space for the white pieces. So that's a brilliant conception. That's a brilliant idea. And I am sure this will be extremely useful for you in understanding the game of chess. So here the move is knight a3, further attacking the pawn, attacking it in such a way that it cannot be defended any further. And when black has to play the move b4 or b into a4, the square knight c4 will be available for the white knight. So this is a very simple, very important, and a very important strategic concept, fighting for squares. In this lesson, we will not see at the full game because that is kind of out of scope. But this knight became the key in fight against the black side, and Carlsen followed with f4, gaining a big and mobile pawn center and winning an excellent game. But the lesson here is fighting for squares. So white is not just happy with black occupying and controlling all these squares, which does not allow white to put pieces forward in good positions. So what does he do? He attacks, loosens up the center, and the way game went, b4 was played, and after knight d2, white has this brilliant outpost. And as we know, outpost is a square which cannot be challenged by opponent's pawn. A brilliant outpost for the knight on the square c4, where it exerts great influence on the black's position. So this is the lesson for today. How to fight for squares. I hope you found it useful, and I'll be back with another interesting lesson shortly soon. Take care. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you back.